This is the second lecture in Architecture 2351, Architectural Technology 1, and it's on the subject of integral architecture and the four value spheres and how technology plays a role in defining and designing architecture. As we talked about in the previous lecture, the cognitive design process includes four primary stakeholders: the client, the user, the designer, and the constructor. That the cognitive design process is a process of beliefs becoming values, informing our values, and values producing needs, and needs being met by establishing goals and developing a plan, and then acting upon that plan. There are basically two stages in the cognitive design process. One is called programming, which is the collection of information around our beliefs, our values, our needs, and our goals, and establishing our goals. And then the second stage is really what we often consider the design, and that is taking those design goals from the program and developing plans and action. The cognitive design process is looking at and synthesis of beliefs, values, needs, and goals into a design concept. The design concept is the basis for the development of the plan for the design. The plan is implemented by action, which takes the design into a state of physical existence and out of the realm of possibility. Until one has built the architecture, it really is not architecture. An informed designer, not a mechanical process, generates superior design solutions. It's important that one realize that design is fundamentally an intuitive process. It's a cognitive process that is often intuitive and formulated in our subconscious. It's informed by the design team's knowledge, their biases, feelings, and insights. A misinformed intuition, when we misinform our cognitive process, we produce misinformed design. The primary purpose of pre-design and programming, collecting of that information up front before we initiate a design, is to inform the design team's intuition. The design team is critical. Your team have to be committed to the design goals. The designer's first perception of the problem sets the design process, guides design decisions, and serves as the basis for the justification of the final design. To proceed with the argument, we must first agree on some warrants or presuppositions. These are ideas that we could argue separately, and I'd be glad to do so. But for this conversation, we must take them as points of departure. The first of these is architecture is a byproduct of human existence. Life creates architecture. Architecture does not create life. Architecture is not self-evident. As Christian Norberg Schultz in The Meaning in Western Architecture discusses the importance of humankind's search for meaning to life and how architecture of different historical periods represents that culture's understanding of the world and their worldview. As humankind's perception of the world changes, the result is the places people create begin to reflect those changes in perception. Architecture becomes one of the many of society's methods to make concrete the culture's current model it uses to explain phenomena and humanity's existence. Society chooses from a variety of possible models of the universe, those that better further the development and progression of that society's beliefs and their values. In other words, if you want to understand the nature of architecture and where the design of our environment is going, look to the development of humankind. The answer lies in the very nature of our perception of the world. Second presupposition is there's a pattern nature of process to all existence. As Arthur Lovejoy points out in his book, The Great Chain of Being, a study of history of the idea, all the great cultures in the world have a belief in the great chain of being. Whether we're talking about cultures from Asia, the Middle East, Europe, or the Americas, this is a belief that there is pattern nature or process to all existence. The Greeks called this the cosmos, and the cosmos has different levels of existence. For now, we'll call them the theosphere, or matter, biosphere, life, noosphere, mind, and the theosphere, spirit. One of the questions I am constantly confronted with as an educator by both students and laypersons alike is what is the role of architects and environmental designers? What do you do and why is it important? These are two very important questions, and often my answer to them seems simplistic. I tell them our role is to guide the creation of quality environment. And as simplistic as that seems, the plot thickens, and the question has to be asked, how does one define quality? And of course, this opens the age-old discussion of aesthetics and even more. So what do I mean by quality? When I refer to quality, I mean the quality with a capital Q, described by Pirsig in Zen, the Artist's Motorcycle Manual. Quality is a system which is indeterminate by the sum of its parts and exists in architecture as the reciprocal relationships we build between the subject, the people who use and design architecture, and the object, the architecture itself. Then the act of producing quality becomes an event whereby the subject and the object lose that sense of separateness and results in a transcendent experience. How are these relationships built so that the quality results? Pirsig argued that caring was the key, that those individuals who establish a caring state of mind about what they create are bound to create things with some aspects of quality. And a person who feels and creates quality is someone who cares about what one is making or doing. It is in this transpersonal state of mind whereby the subject and the object create quality. Plato defined three value spheres of being as the good, the true, and the beautiful. These value spheres define the objective realms of existence. A value sphere is a set of values that we intrinsically feel are important. It's not a particular value, but it is a set of values. Plato's value sets or value spheres, the good, the true, and the beautiful, are often referred to as the big three. Jürgen Habermas, another philosopher, argues that the three value spheres manifest themselves in the modern world as morals, science, and art, and that from medieval period up until the Enlightenment, the moral value sphere dominated the Western civilization's evolution of human consciousness. The church and its moral teaching dominated the spheres of science and art and subjugated these value spheres to it. The Enlightenment brought a breakthrough by replacing the moral value sphere with science. In 1995, Ken Wilber, in his book Sex, Ecology, and Spirituality, The Spirit of Evolution, expanded the big three value spheres of morals, science, and art to a set of four value spheres, which he included culture. The Roman Marcus Vitruvius Pollio wrote the 10 books of architecture circa 27 BC as a guide to the design of architecture for Caesar Augustus. He defined the three value spheres of the Roman Empire and architecture as firmitas, utilitas, and venustus: technology, utility, and aesthetic. Vitruvius named the big three as venustus, art; firmitas, technology; utilitas, usefulness or utility. I've expanded his three attributes of architecture to what I call the four quadrants of architecture after Ken Wilber's four quadrants of human development, where the aesthetics is the compositional beauty of the whole, the culture is the traditions and beliefs of the people, the social is those activities that we observe and do in work and play, and technology as that value sphere that covers not only how we build, but the technology we use to develop our designs. As architects develop the program for their projects, it is imperative they collect information in all four value spheres and synthesize this information into their design concepts. Architecture of the highest quality includes knowledge and information of the aesthetics, technology, social, and cultural value spheres. Architecture is a whole which requires an understanding of the aesthetic, the technology, the cultural, and social. The complex interplay of these four spheres of influence establish the reciprocal relationships necessary for the system we call architecture. To exclude or extensively diminish the role of any of these value spheres in creation of architecture destroys the synergy of the design. Our ability to transcend our own personal self and connect to a greater vision of architecture is fundamental to the retaining and expanding the quality of our environment. I am not talking about an altruistic movement of architecture, but an architecture sown out of the very fabric of human consciousness. Every great movement of architecture has sprung from the collective wellspring of human consciousness. It manifests itself by giving a new order to the rising complexity of existence and a changing awareness of humanity's place in our world. In order to create quality environments within the rising complexity of our world, we're going to have to expand our perception of architecture. I believe that integral and systems theory provides us with a very useful framework in which to do this. Thank you.